Thank you so much for coming out here this morning. I smelled sunscreen, that's great. I see you guys have lots of water. Thank you so much. This is really important that you guys obviously show your support not only for the animals but for the workers here today. So I've got some prepared remarks so I don't go too far off and get too emotional, so bear with me here. Like many of you, I've adopted dogs from this shelter. 2 crazy little hyper black lab puppies. Just love them, couldn't separate the sisters. I've donated money and supplies to the shelter. I love the fur ball, it's one of my favorite events. In fact, this year my husband and I emceed the event. It raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the shelter. And I love more than anything seeing the dogs and cats that they bring out, finding forever homes through the adoption process. We here in Cheyenne consider our shelter to be just that, a place of safety, a place of comfort for lost and abandoned animals. You may recall that just a couple weeks ago on Facebook, I called out the outstanding work and quick response from our animal control in rescuing a puppy that had been locked in a really hot vehicle. They were awesome, just awesome. We place immense trust in the leadership of this shelter, and for many of us, that trust has been broken. But that doesn't mean that we don't continue to support the hard-working employees and the countless volunteers and board members who do give their time in making this a wonderful facility. The shelter still needs donations. Gift cards to the local stores and food for food and supplies is a great way to still continue to show your love and support for this shelter. The Cheyenne Police Department will be finalizing its report in the coming days, the investigation. But yet we all know that Mr. Fecht has admitted to his actions and defends them.
Get him out.
And this is not behavior or leadership that I find acceptable in any way, and that's why I've asked him to step down.
Yes.
Okay, let me finish up here. And I ask all of you to keep the pressure on the board of directors, and that's where the pressure should be placed, to do the right thing. And only then can our trust be restored.
Yes.
So thank you.
Who holds the board accountable?
And why can't you yank your funds until they get their
I'll answer just a couple questions. The board of directors, they're volunteers, and they have their own bylaws, and they do hire and fire the CEO. So with that, again, put your pressure on the board. I went to the board meeting. I do know that we've got some very, very good, outstanding board members. David Pope, for example, he's a CPA here in town. His dog Bubba has been diagnosed with cancer, and he's spending thousands of dollars to treat his fur baby for cancer treatment. So we've got some really outstanding board members. Please,
how do we
keep the
put pressure on them? What's the best way to put
write
pressure
letters,
on them?
you write phone calls. This here today is a great example. So congratulations on a great rally. This is let's put it out there. That the board is not acting appropriately and not being forthright, then essentially the city council could vote to defund.
What about the county? What's their role?
I don't know what the county's role is as far as this particular instance. I do know that they
they're taxed through them, and it's not.
They do get funds too. So,
yeah.
Yep.
And we've left, and everybody needs to leave a message with Buck Holmes because he's their commissioner and he's their chairman. At least to ask them to make a public statement, at the very least.
I agree.
Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you coming.
Okay, and speaking with Cheyenne Mayor Marion, or we've just been discussing the situation at the Cheyenne Animal Shelter. You'd like Bob Fecht to resign, but you got no way of making that happen, do you?
I don't. Really, what I asked him to do was do the right thing by the shelter and the community. The public outcry is it's like something that I have not seen, at least in my term here. And I think that by stepping aside and stepping down and letting others kind of move up and move forward, I think that that's the solution.
Is there anything at all the city could do?
There really isn't, other than the fact that they do receive city funds. And should city council determine that collectively they don't believe that the taxpayer funds, are being used in the correct way or are not going towards the mission, they absolutely can vote to discontinue the contract that we do have with them for services and look to providing services through something else. Certainly we don't want to leave the community without animal control services. This is something that we can certainly look to for other private entities.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you a question?